Okay, I'm just waiting on notification, bro, Kareem.
Okay.
Go. And boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have an amazing guest with us, one who I'm very humbled would take time out of his busy schedule to come give us some information as well as some inspiration, and that is none other than Brother Kareem Ali. First of all, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Man, this means a great deal to myself and the viewing audience that you would take time out of your busy schedule to come let us hear your great experience in your life's journey, sir. Assalamu alaikum again.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank everybody for watching. Well, the first question we want to know is, Brother Kareem, is when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
That's a great question. I was actually 14 years old when I first heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Memphis, Tennessee. My uncle, Rashid Muhammad, he was the current captain at that time. And I'm just a young teenager, so him being the captain and him being a man's man, all the brothers, the lieutenants, man, they loved him. They was all around the house all the time. And one particular brother was like my big uncle in the nation, his brother Mark. I think he was in Raleigh Durham. Now he's in Atlanta with you all, I think now. But Brother Mark, you know, if you know Brother Mark, handsome brother, he's a short brother, but he always looked real young. And so they'll be around the house with my Uncle Rashid. And so Mark would always get at me. Uncle Mark would always get at me. He was like, little brother. He was like, man, when you gonna join the nation, little brother? When you gonna join the nation, little brother? I'm like, man, I'm too young to join the nation because I ain't know nothing about it. Yeah, I just knew my uncle was the captain because he had converted to Islam. He went from Charles to Rashid. And so Brother Mark was like, man, I'm 14 too, brother. He was like, you can be in the nation. I believed him because, you know, Mark looked so young. But this one particular Sunday, me and my uncle's son and his younger nephew, we normally would always go to church with my auntie. And for whatever reason, this particular Sunday, we did not go to church and we had to roll with my uncle to the mosque. This is my first time ever going to the mosque. And it was at Mount Golgotha Church, I think in North Memphis, in Memphis. And so me being 14, I had to sit in the sanctuary area. But my other little cousin, they was running around playing, doing whatever. And so this is when student minister Anthony, student minister Abdul Muthakir was the minister when he first came to Memphis. Yes, and sir. So I was sitting in the audience and he was teaching on Malcolm. I had never really heard too much about Malcolm X. So this was right around 92, somewhere around, I'd say 92, 93, somewhere right around 93. And I had never heard about Malcolm, but he was just teaching on Malcolm and he was just teaching various different truths that Malcolm was speaking on. And then in Memphis, man, the brothers know how to bear witness, man. So they was bearing witness so strong. And you know, you was just like, man, what's going on? And it sounded so good. But as I started listening to student minister Anthony at the time and what he was saying about Malcolm and what he was saying about eating pork and all these different things on the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it started making sense in my little 14-year-old mind. And so that day, that moment in time, I accepted Islam in my heart. I grew up about 25 miles outside of Memphis in a rural area in the country. We lived on a farm. We raised hogs, pigs, all of that. I was a caretaker of the pigs, and I stopped eating pork, cold turkey that day. And so my grandma was a little upset about me, not eating the food that they cooked anymore. But my grandfather was a Baptist preacher. And so when I refused to eat certain foods, my grandfather, he didn't get upset. He said, son, well, I guess you all poked out. Because, because I ate it my whole life,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
At age 14. And so he kind of saw the nation in scripture, and he pretty much kind of helped guided me. So as I started studying Islam, when I was 14, I still had to go to church with them. And so every Saturday we had to study our Sunday school lesson anyway. So I would get with my grandfather, get his Bible, and I would start asking him all kind of different questions about what this Bible verse say or what this aspect of Jesus' life meant. And from the little bitty knowledge that I had from just going to the mosque at one time and just reading up on my own, I would go and engage back and forth with my grandfather, and then I would challenge the Sunday school teachers, in Sunday school. But from there, that's how I first heard the teachings. And so, and sometimes in the summer, I would stay over my uncle's house. And then, so they would have the dinners with Sister Jill, Minister Anthony, and some of the other laborers. And so they'll be in there on the high science, talking about Master Farad Muhammad, talking about the will. But I was so interested. And so I would ear hustle. I would be in the room next door listening to what they were saying. And I was just intrigued. But at that point, Islam had got into me. I started studying more and more and more. However, it was a breakdown in our family because my uncle, who's not he's my uncle through marriage. Him and my auntie, they had gotten a divorce. And in the midst of that divorce, Islam was foreign because this was in the 90s, the early 90s, and my family grew up in the church, and we never heard nothing about no Islam, no Nation of Islam, no Farrakhan, no none of this. And so, they thought it was a pagan religion or a religion that taught hate and different things like that. So it got to the point where I was so all in, my family didn't want me to be a part of it. They rejected me being in Islam, even my mother, because I had became so convinced that this was Allah's way that I really became active. I used to sneak to the mosque. My mom didn't want me to go to the mosque because, she thought that Islam was something, witchcraft or something like that. This is what they teaching down in the South, in the churches. And so she was going to church. My mom is a very deeply spiritual woman, and so she in church and, deeply spiritual. And so she would make me go to church and all those different things. And I didn't want to go. And brother, I never forget, this was the breaking point for me with church and Islam. I never forget, I think it was like a New Year's Eve, they have that little celebration on New Year's Eve in the church. And man, everybody in there just running around, shouting and foaming at the mouth. And then the ushers, they start running around the church, brother. And then all of a sudden they'll stop running and then they'll fall dead on their face. And I was like, man, what the hell is this? I'm about 14 years old, bro. I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I go outside. My mama looking for me. And she was like, boy, if you don't get back here in this church. And I said, Mom, I love you. I said, but you ain't gonna make me believe that. I said, Mom, I'm not going back in that church. I said, y'all crazy in there. I'm not going back. And look, I said, Mom, don't you make me go back in there. I said, I'm not going back. And she didn't make me. And so at that point, Islam was just growing in me because when Minister Anthony and them first came to Memphis, Sister Jill, Sister Muthakir, she wasn't feeling too well. She was a little ill and they needed a little assistance. So I stayed in their home during the summertime. And I would help her with her oldest son. And they had just had Sister little Nora and Minister Anthony to be out all day with the brothers and doing whatever he was doing. I didn't know what he was doing, but all I know is when he came back home, he would have all these books all over the table, and he'll get out his guitar and he'll start playing that guitar. And so, it was just beautiful being in their home and seeing them interact. And so when I would be at the mosque, Minister Anthony would always call me up. He would look at me. He would say, brother, he said, that little brother right there, he gonna be a giant one day. He's gonna be a giant in Islam one day. And he used to always stand me up in front of all of the believers, like almost every other Sunday. And I never forget him asking me this question because my mom was so adamant about me not being a Muslim. And he'll be like, brother, how you get a name like Kareem? Your mama got so much, hatred toward Islam. I was like, I don't know, brother minister. I was just born with the name. And I used to sneak to the mosque. On a Wednesday night, I would sneak to the mosque to hear the lectures. And Minister Anthony, he would see me in the audience. And he would say, brother, he said, you don't supposed to be in here. You know, Sister Lovey don't want you in here. And they would have to dismiss me because I wasn't old enough to be in the mosque by myself. You know, I was still like 14, 15. And you had to be a registered believer in order to be in the mosque at that young age. And so I had this yearning for Islam. And my mom had so much hatred toward Islam, it was creating a wedge between us. Because, you know, I was 14. You know how you young, you might have a girlfriend that was your first love. When you were in high school, when you were in junior high, and all of those kind of things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I didn't have that when I was growing up, when I was a teenager. When I heard Islam, I felt deeply in love with Islam. And Islam was the first thing that I ever felt love. And I fell in love with. And so when my mom was trying to take me away from Islam, I felt like she was my enemy because she was taking me away from something that I truly loved. And I had never felt that experience of love before. And so me and my mom, we went through it, brother. We went through it, bro. Like, man, I really had like hatred growing up in my heart for my mother. And so the brothers, you know, the brothers would always, when they saw me, they just loved me, man, especially Brother Mark, man. I don't think if anybody put Islam in me, the spirit of love and brotherhood, it was Brother Mark, because if he was out selling the final call and he saw me, he would stop and say something to me. He would give me final calls. And I used to take these final calls home and read them all the time. So we lived in the country. And so, you know, where we lived, it wasn't a lot of sanitation. We had to, it wasn't a trash system. So we burned our trash on a garbage pile or in a barrel. And you lit a fire and you just burnt the trash up. And so my mom took my final call newspapers and she burned my final calls. This is what my mother did. She burned my final calls. And so me loving the minister the way that I did and loving Islam the way that I did, I felt like I was attacked by my own mother. And so hatred grew up in me, in my heart, for my own mother. I was immature as a Muslim and didn't understand and didn't know what to do, but I was only operating off of intense love that I had for Islam. And our relationship was terrible. Our mother-son relationship, it was so terrible, Brother Josh, man. You know how you love your mother and y'all have such a good relationship. At one point in time, I didn't have that with my mother because we was at odds. And I just thank Allah so much for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I would never forget, brother. It was her birthday. Her birthday is September the 4th. And I think, no, it wasn't her birthday. It was Mother's Day. And I got her a gift basket for Mother's Day. I was probably about 15. I may have been about 15, 16 around that time. I may have been around 16, 17 around that time. And I gave my mother a gift bag. And I gave her a copy of the videotape, A Nation Can Rise No Higher Than Its Woman. Now, my mom always been a deeply spiritual woman. And so I didn't know she was going to watch it. I didn't think she was going to watch it. I was just giving her, you know how we do, man, we give somebody a DVD and, you know, hope that they watch it and don't know if they watch it. But, you know, later down the road, man, brother's like, man, that tape you gave me, it changed my life. So my mom watched that tape. And, you know, my mom been through so many different struggles with men in her life and different things like that. And so, you know, when the minister spoke on That Nation Can Rise No Higher Than This Woman, he spoke all up into the Black woman.
Yes,
and
sir,
so
yes, sir.
That word that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave in The Nation Can Rise No Higher Than This Woman, it affected my mother. My mother, man, like she went from night to day. When she heard the minister speaking on That Nation Can Rise No Higher Than This Woman, it transformed her. She went from a disbeliever to a believer overnight from off that tape. So that, and I'm so grateful to Allah because Allah lifted a burden off of me because I didn't grow up with my mother as a child. My mother had me when she was 14 years old. So my grandparents raised me. And so she was going off to school. So I never had that nurturing love of a child and a mother. And it was something that I was yearning for and I wanted, but I never had it. And so when she was rejecting Islam, it was just further pushing us away. I would have never had it. But Allah, man, I thank Allah because man, he know what you need, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He know what you need in your life, and he knew that I needed my mother, and he knew that I was vexed, and so to speak, where I wasn't leaving this, and so he blessed my mother to hear Islam and embrace Islam. And brother, it just made our relationship open up and become so beautiful, brother. I remember the times where man, I would talk to my mama after Islam. I would talk to my mama every single day, brother, every single day. And she was just growing in Islam, and it just did so much for me. When I was in Chicago, every day we would talk about Islam. And I'm just grateful that through me, well, really through her womb, and then back through me, that Allah blessed my mom to hear and accept Islam. And man, she's one of my favorite believers in the Nation of Islam, brother. So, but that's my little story of how I kind of first heard the teachings and came into the Nation. I got registered when I was 17 years old. And even that was beautiful because my uncle was the captain. So I had to say my student enrollment in actual facts and recite them in front of him. And he's so special in my life because, you know, my mom got pregnant with me, had me when she was 14. And it was kind of kept a secret because my mom ran track. She was real petite. And so, you know, if you know how some of the real petite girls are, and I've seen, I got a cousin like this too. She was pregnant, but nobody really could tell. Nobody really could tell that she was pregnant with me. It wasn't until my auntie, they were in college, her Uncle Rashid at UAPB, she came home, she was combing my mom's hair, and she looked down and she said, "Lovey," she said, "Are you pregnant?" And she said, "Yes." And my mama started crying. So this is the story. My mama never told me these stories until after she heard Islam. She never told me these stories. And she said that "Yes, I'm pregnant." And then my auntie Emma was like, "Man, you too young to have a baby right now." So my Uncle Rashid, his mother was a nurse. They were getting ready to take my mom to her to see if she can have an abortion. And so by the time they got her to Uncle Rashid's mother, when they checked her out, it was like, she can't have an abortion. She's 6 months. So it was too late. But like my mother told me, she said, Allah was hiding you the whole time, brother. Because she was like, if they would have got you any sooner, she's like, I probably would have been gone. You know, and so I always attribute this to my uncle because he was there in the hospital when I was first born. And then he was also there when I was first born again into Islam, because I heard Islam through him. I saw Islam through him. And even when I accepted Islam and had to recite to get my ex when I was 17, he was my captain. And that was one of the greatest experiences that I could ever have coming into the Nation of Islam, to recite and get my ex with my uncle. And it was just such a beautiful thing. And I'm just forever grateful for him for being that vessel in our whole family that introduced our whole family to Islam.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Excellent story and testimony. And thank you for being so transparent, sir. Sister Ilyasa says, Assalamu alaikum, Ili. My sister Miriam, my uncle, Minister Jamil, my sister Naima, Sister Michelle. My Minister Jamil says, beautiful stories. This is marvelous, Brother Kareem. Thank you. My sister Naima says, all praises due to Allah. So all beautiful. Praise due to Allah. Brother Fred says, my brother Kareem Ali. Mimi said, my sister Miriam says, beautiful testimony. Sister Lovett says, beautiful testimony. And then Minister Jamil says,
oh, that's my mama.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, my next question for you, sir, is what was it like for you meeting the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for the first time?
Well, that was always interesting. So I think the first time I met the minister, I was always around the minister a lot when I was in Chicago. But I was always standoffish. I was a hard worker in Chicago, but I was never the brother that always trying to get in the minister's view or in the minister's face. I was always nervous. You know, sometimes, you know, the minister is unique. You know, the minister, he'll see you and zoom in on you, and he'll summon you to him. And he did that one time. I think it was my first time. No, that was the second time. That was the second time. I'll back off that story for now. But anyway, because I met the minister up front and personal before then. I first met the minister when the minister gave me my name in Chicago. That's the very first time that I actually met the minister. I had been on hundreds of details, in Chicago, going from Big Bird to the Little Bird, and, at the house and what have you, on all of the details. I don't think, man, shit. When I was in Chicago, I don't think it was a detail that I wasn't on unless I was at work. That's just how we did it. But this is how I officially met the minister. And the first time that I met him, he named me. So all praises due to Allah. It was the night that we had a believers meeting, and the minister was thanking us. He was thanking all of Chicago. I didn't even know it was being played around the nation, but I knew we had a special believers meeting because I think that was the year in 2004 when Chicago, when we raised the most money for Savior's Day. And the minister was able to pay off the debt on the farm and on the mosque.
Yes, sir.
And so, but we bust our ass in Chicago. That year we worked hard. I was working as student, well, he was a regional at that time, but now Assistant Supreme of Brother Aziz. I was his administrative assistant in the FOI office. So, man, we spent a lot of long nights in that FOI office just working. That Savior's Day. And, and by me being in administration, I did a lot of errands for headquarters, taking checks to the UIC pavilion, running errands for Minister Ishmael's office, going back and forth, doing different things like that. And we really, really worked hard that year. And so when the minister did this big tribute to all of the working believers in the mosque, he just wanted to thank us for our hard work. So he had this list. I guess he had a list of all of the departments, from the secretary staff, from the MGT staff, captain staff, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a squad leader at the time. So I'm over the outside parking lot, and so I had to have a certain amount of men in rotation on that parking lot, but I was short one. So you know how it is when you in leadership, when you short one, you that one, So I was locking down the parking lot. Then I found the brother, and I put the brother on the post. And as soon as I put the brother on the post and I was going back into the Mosque Mariam, the minister was calling out the captain's staff. And he started calling out the captain, the first officer, the lieutenants. And then he was like, man, boy, the house is filling up. He said that later. But he started calling the lieutenants. Then he got to the squad leaders. I'm a squad leader. And he was like, Brother Nathaniel Muhammad, Brother Jason 3X. And then he said, Brother Kareem 2X. And he was just reading these names off super fast, brother, like, just reading them. But when he got to that Kareem 2X, he stopped on a dime. He was like, 2X? He was like, nah, you can't be 2X. Where is this 2X? And I just walked into the mosque, bro. And I was nervous. I didn't know what was finna happen. I didn't know what was finna happen. I didn't know if I was in trouble. I didn't know nothing. And so I came up there and I was nervous, brother. And so he looked at me up and down. And he said, brother, he said, son, where did you get the name Kareem? He was firm. And then I said, my mother. And then he got humble. Like, you could feel the humility in his spirit when I said my mother. And he said, oh, from birth? He said, your mother named you from birth? I said, yes, sir. And then it was like, just like that. He said, well, you can't be 2X, son. You Kareem Ali. It's like he didn't even think about it, brother. He didn't even think about it. And the whole mosque, man, just exploded, man. It was so beautiful to feel the love from all of the believers. And then when I got ready to go up there and go on the stage, because everybody that the minister called, he had them to come up on the stage behind him. And so as I came up to him, I bowed to him, and he looked me up and down, and he didn't call me Brother Kareem. He called me brother. He said, Brother Ali. And then I walked on the stage. So that was my first time ever meeting him. And it's probably, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me in my entire life, because I remember when I was 17 and I was practicing. We lived in the projects in Arkansas, in Forest City, Arkansas, Turner Circle. I remember practicing writing the Savior's letter. And in that Savior's letter, you asking Master Farad Muhammad to give you a name.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so, man, I reflected back on when I was in the projects writing my Savior's letter, asking for a name. And the messenger of Allah gave me a name. And I really contribute that whole day, Brother Josh. I contributed back to my mother because my mother gave me that name, Kareem. And when the doctors came in the room, my mother told me this. I used to hate my name growing up. They used to tease me. They used to call me Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the big head Kareem. Because, I had grew into my head, man. My head was super huge, bro. And so they used to tease me, call me Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I hated that name. But my mom, she told me, she said, when the doctors came into the room, they asked, what you gonna name your son? She said she had a whole nother name for me. She was gonna name me Reginald Dwayne Howard. Thank the Lord she didn't give me that damn name. But she was gonna get my dad's last name. But anyway, she said that when the doctor came in the room, she said Kareem Kente came out. Kareem Kente Yates. She gave me her last name. And that's how I got the name Kareem. But when I reflected back on the tape that a brother gave me of the minister naming me, I cried because I looked at it and I studied it. And when the minister said, who gave you that name? And I said, my mother, and he got humbled. At that moment, I knew that if it wasn't for my mother and her naming me Kareem, I would have never had that moment. I would have never had that moment with the messenger of God. And so all my gratitude is to Allah and to my mother and her sacrifice as a young girl to have a baby at the age 14. She could have aborted me and she could have done something else with her life, but she sacrificed her life to give me life. And so man, all praise is due to Allah for that. But I contribute my name, Ali, I contribute that back to my mother. And like the minister said, he said after he called me up there, he said, boy, the house is filling up. He said, but it don't mean that you don't deserve a place up here. He said, just work a little harder and it'll be you the next time. When I looked at that, I said, wow. I said, this is a reward. I said, man, I heard these teachers when I was 14. And ever since I was been 14, I've been trying to bringing folks to Islam and infecting people with Islam ever since I was 14 years old, all the way up through high school, transforming my family, my extended family into Islam and making them love and appreciate Islam. So that was the work that I had already put in. It wasn't something that just happened because I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. It was Allah giving me a reward for all of the sacrifices that I had made in Islam as a child coming up to Islam. All of the fights and the debates, that we go through when you first hit Islam and you a zealot, and the pain that you may have caused and the pain that you suffered, with that X on your back and representing the nation of Islam, when it wasn't popular. The nation wasn't popular in the 90s, we were cracked under your father's administration, but man, we had a lot of damn opposition, but we fought the good fight. We fought the good fight. And people are respecters of the nation of Islam under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Min Farrkahan, really because a lot of the base of what your father laid down for us, because man, we had to bust our butts and work hard, and we made sure we got all up in the faces of folks over Islam. And we did, you know. And so through that, it has made it a little easier now for a lot of the young brothers and sisters that's coming up to stand and hold this flag up, you know, because, man, we tore down a lot of walls. We tore down a lot of walls.
Praise be to Allah. Well, I want to thank you, sir, for your sacrifice, Brother Kareem, on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience. May Allah continue to bless you, your mother, and your family for you all sacrifice. My next question is, speaking of busting down walls, I remember you talking about the west side of Chicago, Memphis, Mississippi, working throughout the South. Has there ever been a time where you were faced with fear? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
Oh, man. You know, man, I face fear every day. Brother, I face fear when you called me and asked me to come on this show. Brother, hey, I hadn't heard from you. Told me you was going to get back with me. And I hadn't heard from you until last night. And I was like, man, I hope he forgot. I was like, but damn it, man, I hope he forgot, man. I ain't going to even call him and remind him. Yeah. You know, so I face fear daily because I really don't like getting up in front of people. I do it because sometimes I do it because nobody else is doing it. You know, something may need to be said or done. And the people that you look to that should be doing it and that you want to help do it, they may not necessarily be doing it. So I just step up to the plate and get it done. But Chicago, coming up in Chicago in the ranks, I think that alone, it removed a lot of the fear out of me. A lot of the challenges that I faced in Islam out of me, because, you know, man, in Chicago, it's a lot to be afraid of, inside and outside of the mosque, you know. So, like, man, here I am, a little country boy coming up from out of Arkansas, coming up out of Memphis. I'm like, man, I'm coming to Chicago. I'm at headquarters. And so it was a trial, you know. Everybody first, hey, look, you ain't no real soldier in Chicago. I'm gonna put it like, you ain't no real soldier in Chicago unless you done had a trial with Benny Mo. look, brother, hey, if you can't beat the trial with Benny Mo, you might as well just go out the door. And most people never beat it, so they out the door. And then not only do you got to beat the trial with Benny Mo, you got to beat the trial with all his sons. You know, so the majority of that, you know, was a lot of trial in Chicago for me. And but I'll just go over some different trials, like some of the trials I look back at and laugh at in Chicago and just have fun with. Is like when I was Brother Aziz, assistant supreme captains, when I was his administrative assistant when he was a central regional captain, Brother Omar, his son, was the maintenance man. And so you had, and may Allah be pleased with my brother, I can't even think of his name. He used to be on the doorpost, you know, paid post, charity post every day. Tall, dark skin, always was telling jokes, Brother Josh. I can't think of his name. He passed away a couple of years ago. Handsome brother. But anyway, so I can't help but to say it, that damn Omar. Well, that Omar was a goddamn thorn in my side, man. I'm trying to administer rules and guidelines coming out of his father's office. But Omar, like, man, shit, I'm Omar. You know, he want to do it his damn way. And so every damn day, me and Omar, we was at it every single day. I'm like, oh, man, we got to do this every goddamn day. Oh, me and you, every day. You know, but to see both of our growth and our development as young Muslims, you know, really full with, you know, just the spirit, and man, to see us grow and to laugh and look back at some of those things, you know, it's joy. And ain't nothing like that brotherhood when you go back and forth with one another and you have your little trials in the brotherhood and you overcome it and you remain steadfast and brotherly with one another. And that's a beautiful thing. But Chicago, I had a lot of trials, you know. I think the first thing that I ever did in Chicago, I was a squad leader. We put together my lieutenant, Brother Daniel, was a good lieutenant, because he just let me go. You know, he let me do. He reminded me of your father. He just let us work. You know, it was me and another brother, Marcus. We were the squad leaders, and we were assigned to All-Gale Guards. And so, you know, if you ever been out to All-Gale Gardens, it's like a whole community all by itself. You know, it got a community center, it got a little store. So we set up a beachhead in All-Gale Gardens. We met with the LOC out there. And so, but one of the first events that I did was we put on this huge event for that community. And it was big, man. You know, we were shocked, you know. So one thing about Chicago is so much talent in Chicago. You really got everything and everybody you need right there. So we put on a big event. I think Minister Amin spoke, because that was the time during the whole Michael Jackson controversy. So he spoke on Michael Jackson that day. We had like a martial arts demonstration. So Grandmaster put on his demo. Sister Kabasa got the Vanguard and they drill. We had some junior FOI drilling. The FOI drill. I had Brother Hashim. Brother Hashim was the host. So we put together this whole little beautiful piece. We had some of the sisters who were nurses to do different things for healthcare. Brother Saad, which was Brother Burvey at the time, he gave free legal consultation out to those who needed it. So we did community things like that, you know, and it was a great success. And I remember Grandmaster coming to me. He said, it ain't gonna be easy after this, son. He said, you did a great job. He said, but all your trials finna come right after this one. And man, he didn't lie. He did not lie, you know, because then after that, he sent me over on the west side to help on the west side. And, you know, it was a lot of trials over there because, you know, like the west side, we kind of like, you know, if they don't really know you like that, they ain't really rocking with you like that. You gotta become a little more familiar with them. You know, they looking at you out the side with a side eye. They trying to check you out to make sure you who you say you are, what you think you are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I had a lot of that tension about my capability of what I was sent over there to do. And so that was a little rocky. But it ended up being smooth because, you know, I found my niche, and I found that little niche in protocol because, like, when I first went over there to help Minister Caleb, I love Minister Caleb, man, because Minister Caleb, you know, he reminded me of a Baptist preacher. You know, what you see is what you get. The brother just so genuine and down to earth. You ain't, as a minister, you don't have to worry about him being somebody who trying to play games with you or manipulate you or all these other things that you sometimes see certain ministers do. He was just your brother, but he could teach, and he was filled with the Spirit. And I was like, man, and he was timid at the time. Brother K, he's still timid now. I'll speak on that in a minute, but he was timid at the time. And so I just loved the way he talked and his spirit. So I was like, man, I love this brother, man. Let me go fill his mosque up. And so me and Brother Commandale, we used to go fill up buses and bring a bus every Sunday to the mosque. And then I just started networking in the community with all of the local leadership, and then just started tying it in to Mosque 2B. And we started being more engaged in the community, more involved around the city. And then we started doing these events to basically kind of just, man, give life back into the West Side Mosque. Because I'll never forget my first singles retreat it was in Phoenix, the very first one. I met Student Minister Patrick. He was the minister in Phoenix. And he gave me this little prayer that the minister gave him. He said, the minister told him, he said, whenever you get up before the people, you say this prayer. And I'll never forget this prayer. And the prayer went like this: Oh Allah, bless me to raise the dead. Oh Allah, bless me to inspire the believers and to revive the naysayers. So I took that prayer and I made it my little mantra in every single thing that I did. And so Um, you know, I grew up in the nation looking at Mother Tanetta, Captain Dennis, Brother Shaheed, the math doctor, uh, uh, Student Minister Abdullah, prison reform, Sister Donna, Mustafa, your father, Captain Curtis. Man, when I was growing up, man, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, man, those were my superheroes, bro. They were my superheroes. So when I got to Chicago, I'm like, man, Mother Tanetta here all the time. Man, Sister Donna over here. I'm seeing all these greats that I would see on the VHS tapes.
Yes, sir.
You know, so I was excited. And so when I got in that protocol position, man, I just started getting real creative. I'm like, man, shit, they here all the time. Like I was like, Minister Katie, can we get them to come over to the mosque and speak? And so we started putting these series of events together. You know, we put events together. The first event that we did, it was with, I ain't gonna even mention that name, but it was great. I ain't gonna even mention that name because that name ain't a name to be mentioned right now. What's all going on with him? But anyway, but we started doing other events, and the spirit of the event was really based upon that prayer. Because when we did the event, the first thing that we wanted to get out of the event was that we wanted to raise the dead. We wanted the lost found that we brought to be to be lifted up from the word. And the ranks wasn't all of that strong on the west side because, you know, on the west side, man, you know, a lot of brothers, man, been used and misused and abused and disgruntled, and, you know, all the little engrams that we got with one another from being hurt over the years. So, we was all bruised up over there. So, part of what we was trying to do was from that prayer, we wanted to raise the dead, but we were doing these things to inspire the believers, to give the believers some hope and let them know that, man, Islam is fun again over here on the west side. Man, we gonna have a good time doing this work over here. So we started inspiring the believers. The believers got excited and started pitching ideas and doing different things. It was just a beautiful time that we had. And then the third thing that impacted us from doing these particular events, it revived a lot of naysayers because you had a lot of brothers and sisters. Well, I ain't gonna say a lot, but you had key brothers and sisters who were naysayers. They just thought none wasn't gonna work. None wasn't gonna happen over here. But through the spirit of Allah and our motive from that prayer, we executed that. And the West Side was becoming revived again. And we had, man, some joyous times over there. And I had my little pushbacks from headquarters, because when we started popping on the West Side again, it became righteous competition. So you know how that go. Yes, and so I had little people in leadership above me that would try to throw little roadblocks and some of the things that I'm trying to help the West Side do. But I just thank Allah for my spirit, even though I had people who really, as we say in the streets, got clout that could block certain things out that I was doing. Man, Allah just blessed me to be so smooth and so skillful. I knew how to maneuver around it. I knew how to go underneath them or go over them and still get the outcome that we was trying to get. I wouldn't let nothing stop me from what we were trying to do in terms of raising the dead and be successful on the West Side and really just all over Chicago. Because, when Minister Farrkahan say Chicago shouldn't be second to no one, goddamn it, Chicago shouldn't be second to no one. Why? Because everybody in Chicago. You got, man, look, at the time we had Mother Tanetta coming through there. We were blessed to bring Sister Donna on the West Side. You got Sister Donna in Chicago. Man, you got the Supreme Captain in Chicago. You got Brother Abdul. You got Minister Abdullah. Man, and you just got brothers and sisters that's cold-blooded within the ranks in Chicago. So, like, I was like a kid in the candy store in Chicago, brother, with all that talent around me. And so I could pull, because the protocol director, all the protocol director is a point guard. That's all he is. He just know how to distribute the ball. He find who knows how to do this play, who knows how to make this move, and then he put the ball in their hand. And and make the whole win. And so that's all I was trying to do. I was trying to make us all win, and we had a lot of wins, you know. So, but praise be to Allah, you know.
Beautiful. Excellent. And once again, thank you again for your work, Brother Kareem. You're getting so many comments, so many people. Please like, share, subscribe. Brother Kareem, I just want to give a quick 60-second commercial break to all the sponsors of the People's Podcast. And I also want to make people aware that I am wearing all red today because it is Heart Health Month Awareness. Shout out to Sister Aisha from Chicago, who made me aware, and you know, I witnessed my mother deal with some heart things, so I'm very sensitive to that. So all the people out there, let's make sure that we're aware of our Heart Health Month awareness, and whatever we can do, go red, learn about it, drinking water, you know, all that good stuff. Whatever we can do to stay healthy, let's make sure we stay and do that. Hold on, Brother Kareem, coming right back to you. I just want to give a quick shout out to all of the sponsors. Okay. One second. Here we go. I'm sharing my screen. Thank everybody for watching the People's Podcast today. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Don't share my screen. All right. And Brother Kareem, we have been well fed today. You've done a great job today.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Here we go. My brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera, a drone. He does television and film editing. Thank you very much. Make sure you reach out. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book, both of which are on Amazon. Let's make sure we go get that. Thank you very much, Sister Miriam. My sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy, LLC. We love our tiny dancers. She teaches ballet virtually across the country, and she just did a great job at the recital today. It's having the young girls doing ballet, beautiful. Nations Auto Sale LLC, our brother out of St. Louis, Missouri. He does a great job shipping cars and trucks to you, special right out of the Midwest. Okay, I want to make sure. Engineers of Tomorrow LLC. That's a STEM preschool in Dallas, Texas. They do a great job of creating young gods at a preschool age. Thank you very much. MTS Car Bros, any make, any model, any year, out of Los Angeles, 30 to 50% off. Thank you very much for your sponsorship. Raising Black Millionaires, Sister Tia Muhammad. She teaches economic empowerment and development to young Black children all across the country through flashcards. Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. Thank you very much. He'll ship bow ties to you anywhere in the country. The Chantil X out of Chicago. He pays truck drivers weekly, and he specializes in refrigeration, the X and Express. The Real Hip Hop Network, you please download the app. You can get paid per stream. So if you have any talent, get on there, get some streams up, and start getting paid. Real Hip Hop Network. Hip Hop Detox, another brother out of Chicago, Brother Enoch. They have a holistic approach to teaching and help and conflict resolutions in the high schools all across the country. Okay, 1 second. Boom. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm coming right back to you, Brother Kareem. Brother Rashad Muhammad of Chicago, COVID-19 Disinfecting Cleaning Service. And last but not least, my father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. My two books, Cleopatra, which is on Amazon, a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, which is on Amazon as well. Thank you all. If you would like to be sponsors or donors, please put a Cash App to the People's Podcast. Thank you. Let's keep this great content going. Okay, Brother Kareem.
Hey, can I say one other thing? Can I add something to my little transition from Chicago to Memphis and South Haven?
Yes, sir.
So just real quick, one of the things that when I moved back home to the South, and me and Brother Sadell, we worked out a lot in the field doing the work. And one of the things that inspired me to do what we were doing when I came back to the South was that, you know, I grew up in Forest City, Arkansas, and even a little smaller town that was smaller than Forest City. And so, you know, in the South, you got all these nooks and crannies where you got believers that pop up from out of a cornfield, from out of a bean field, brother.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, they ain't never been to Chicago or nothing like that. And so when I was in Chicago, man, I was blessed to be around all of the greats, and I had access to them. It was so easy, you know, just to have access to them and to bring them over to the West Side from headquarters to have them speak, and we become inspired by all of our great personalities in the nation. Yes, so sir. In the South, that's difficult because it's a whole nother dynamic. In Chicago, it's easy. You just got to get the love offering and you're done. You got to put nobody in the hotel, none of that. But in the South, man, you got to put them on a plane. You got to feed them. You got to put them in a hotel. You got to get a rental car. You got to do all these dynamics. And so what we wanted to do and what I was inspired to do from what I did in Chicago and on the West Side, man, I wanted the believers in Little Rock and Pine Bluff and Greenville, Mississippi and Greenwood, Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
Man, and Jonesboro, Arkansas, and all these little nooks and crannies to experience what I experienced and what we were able to experience from headquarters. And so Brother Tadero and I, man, we just started inviting different, student ministers from around the country into Memphis and into South Haven and these surrounding areas. And brother, of course, we really kicked it off with Student Minister Nuri. Student Minister Nuri really blessed us because, man, we would take him up and down, all up through the South, the Mid-South. And what was successful, we created a formula because we knew that Little Rock didn't have that kind of money to bring a Brother Nuri or even bring your father in. So we got with all of these little small study groups and we got with Memphis, the mosque. And so what we did, we broke up the bill where everybody chipped in to pay for this particular person coming, the hotel fees, these different fees and what have you. So, and then we put a schedule together and it gave all of these little small towns an opportunity to get Brother Nuri, Student Minister Abdullah, to get your father to come in there and so many others so they can be inspired and do better. And headquarters saw the difference because they saw the numbers. They saw the numbers and they saw the charity go up. And so that's just one of the things that I wanted to share because we put a formula together. And if no matter where you are, if you're in the Midwest, you in the South, you on the West Coast, man, you can do little things to inspire your minds and inspire the believers around you. You just got to create a formula for it and make it work and get envy and jealousy out of the damn way, and you'll be successful raising the dead and inspiring the believers.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Excellent. And let's make sure we put that into motion. And speaking of being in the South, I have just a few more questions for you. One time I was telling my sister that I saw you in action, of course, doing security, my entire adult, being a grown man, I seen you do security for celebrities and so many different people. But one time there was a shotgun placed outside of a church in the South, and my dad was supposed to be coming down there to speak. And we came, do security because we didn't know it was like death threats, we didn't know what was going on. And when we got to the airport, the way you ran the detail and just locked it down and took control of the whole detail that whole time, I just wanted to thank you for that because I saw Brother Kareem Ali in action, brother. Praise be
to Allah. But you know what? Hey, I got to get that training. That training right there, that came from the Assistant Supreme Captain, Aziz Muhammad. Man, that's his training that he gave me. Because, we was, we on details every day in Chicago. You know how I go. And, and he taught me how to take the point in the diamond and what to look for and how to maneuver. And then he was teaching all this stuff in FOI class. So the way that when your father would come into the South and we would handle the detail, we handled it the way that we handled it in Chicago. So, your father had Chicago, your father had headquarters in Mississippi when he came into the city. From the time that he arrived on the plane, at the time that he traveled throughout these rural areas, and to the time that he got back, Brother Oliver had nothing to worry about. And of course, you all didn't have anything to worry about because, that was our brother. I laughed when I saw you put the tag out. You was like, Brother Kareem, Executive Protection Specialist. I was like, man, this brother put me way over my pay grade. I was like, hell no. I was like, man, I'm so below all these real executive protection specialists. But I humbled myself and looked back at those words. I said, you know what? I said, shit, you got to be a specialist to secure the Honorable Minister Min Farrkahan. You got to be a specialist to put your life on the line, to give your life and take a bullet for the messenger of God. It's something special about an individual that's willing to do all that. So, man, I guess you're right, brother.
Yes, sir. Now, on your page, you have so many celebrities that you've done security for. Who has been your favorite one, if you could choose one?
I'm going to say this. My favorite person to do protection with is Attorney Ben Crump. And the reason I say that is because most people don't really know him and see him outside of him being in front of the cameras all the time, you know, and helping these families. So I see Attorney Crump from a whole nother perspective. I see him when ain't no cameras around. And I see how he's aiding and assisting these families when their son been shot and killed by the police, and they crying at 2 in the morning, they cussing and they screaming. I'll tell you this story. I remember being in the car with him, right, doing the Mike Brown situation. And Leslie McSpadden, his Mike Brown Jr.'s mother, called. And she was having a nervous breakdown, brother, on the phone. I mean, she was, you know, she was having one. And how he calmed her down and how he, you know, just nurtured her. And then not only that, he took her from being, her son being shot down in the projects in St. Louis, in Ferguson. He works with them. He develops them to make them better than they were when he found them in the state that they were in when their son was killed. So he's taken her on so many different journeys. This sister has written a book. This sister has ran for alderwoman. She's done so many different things to reinvent herself on a positive level that I've personally seen Attorney Crump helping these families behind the scenes make them better than what they were before he met them. And so a man like that loves his people and is always working behind the scenes to help these families, that's a man I don't mind protecting. That's a man I love protecting, because that's a man that's out here on the front line fighting for our people for justice. And then when the fight for justice ain't in front of the camera, he's trying to make these families whole and make these families better. So, you know, I don't get caught up on who you are and what you got. You know, I get caught up on the heart of a man or a woman. And that's what attracts me. And that's what makes me sacrifice my life to save your life, because sometimes I humble myself and be like, this brother in his service and his work that he's doing, he's better than me. And so I'll give my life to help a brother in that manner. So he's one of my favorites.
Beautiful. Brother Kareem, what do you do for fun?
Oh man, I do everything, man. You know, and so like what I love, man, I love to travel. I love family, doing different things like that. I like bike riding. But travel is my main thing for fun. I like playing a little tennis. You know, I learned that hobby from my uncle, who was the captain in Memphis. He's a big tennis fan and plays a lot of tennis. But playing tennis, traveling, and, you know, I just love the brotherhood. You know, I'm real simple. I'm a fun person. So, man, I can maneuver and have fun in a lot of different things. I don't really have too many specifics things that I just have a hobby in doing.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. And if you could choose, what is your favorite album of all time?
Man, favorite album of all time?
I see you talk about music all the time on Facebook. Come on, Record.
Man, favorite album of all time, man. That's a hard one right there. Man, I just throw some stuff out there, man. Nas, Godson.
Okay.
I like a lot of Nas because, you know, man, when I was going through a lot of stuff, you know, Nas tell the story. So
yes, sir.
I can tell you who I'm liking right now. I love Dave East. Like, Dave East is my guy because he kind of remind me of DMX a little bit. You know,
okay.
He got the little grit, the little grind, and you know, he drop a little consciousness in there every now and then. So Dave East is who I'm listening to. And man, interesting, I'm listening to this one sister. I had never heard of her. She kind of remind me of her, but this one sister named Jane Hancock. She live in Atlanta, but she from Oakland. But she got a good little vibe, you know, on the R&B tip. It's real smooth like her, but she got a little pinch of ratchetness in it, you know.
Okay. You gotta be balanced. You gotta be balanced.
Yeah, you gotta be balanced. You know what I'm saying? So you know, she get me there when I need to be there. So
yes, sir.
She's good. You know, of course, pop, man. I love a lot of old school, all the old school hip hop that I grew up with. KRS-One, EPMD, Rakim, Special Ed, Q, man, all the old school stuff. Biggie. Kendrick Lamar. It's just, man, I just love music, man. I sit and listen to music, and it could be like, I'll take YouTube music. All the new releases come out. It could be rock and roll. It could be pop or whatever. And I listen to the new albums. And if it's a song I like, I'll just add it to this playlist, add it to that playlist.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. So, man, I love music all across the board. I love gospel. You know, I grew up in the church. So gospel is a thing, you know, I always reflect off gospel because the songs, when you hear them, you know, they remind you of a trial you either going through or a trial that you've been through, you know, and it just give a little relief there when you listen to a little gospel.
Yes, sir, I understand. Beautiful. But Kareem, what do you want your legacy to be?
Man, that's an interesting question. My legacy, you know, I always said this, you know, I consider myself to be a servant, and I love the believers, man. Like the believers in the Nation of Islam, man. You are, y'all are very special, man. You know, when I'm in the mosque, and I done been to like several different mosques around the nation, man, it's the believers, these little bitty believers, man, that's keeping the lights on, keeping everything moving, and they love this nation. They love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. They love Master Farah Muhammad. They love the teachers. And I'm gonna be specific, like, and impartial to Memphis. Like the believers in Memphis, I love them, man. Like, look, I love them, you know, because I grew up with them. And most of them that I grew up with, they still there, you know. And I've seen their struggle, and I've seen the ups and downs, and they're still there. They still with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. They ain't turned back on their heels, not one of them. And even some of the ones that's kind of just a little rough around the edges, that's hanging on by a thread, they still love. And it's like when I see the believers in the mosque, man, and I see the believers in Memphis, man, I just love the believers. So my legacy that I would want to leave in the nation is that I just want to go up in history as one of the greatest assist men in the Nation of Islam. I'm just that brother that's always trying. If you got a gift, I want to help you make your gift better. You know, if you got an idea, I want to help you get your idea out there. You know, so I want to go down in history like, you know, one of the top assist men in the NBA, like, you know, Danny Ainge or Steve Nash, you know, yes, I want to be like, you know, playoff Rondo, you know, where
yes, sir.
You know, where, man, I know how to distribute the ball. I know how to make plays and make things happen in the nation for the believers. But damn it, if ain't nobody gonna take it to the hoop, I know how to take it to the hoop. You know, so that's the legacy that I want to live, because, you know, that's just kind of the code I live by. I'm a servant by nature. I want to see everybody successful. I want to make everybody be what Allah has called them to be, if I can do anything about it to do it. And, you know, and I'll take the point if I have to, you know.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. Well, I want to thank you, Brother Kareem Ali. May Allah bless you. You know, I love you, sir, for your work and your spirit. And man, keep doing great things, bro, Kareem Ali. And we gotta acknowledge that bro, Kareem Ali might be top 5 best dressed man that came on the podcast and killed it. We gotta acknowledge it. We gotta acknowledge the hat. Oh, come on, bro, you did it now. You gotta do it.
Hey, like I was telling you, man, back in the day when I was in Chicago, they used to call me Kanye Muhammad because when Kanye first came out, he had a whole different swag in his dress.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I had a whole little different swag in my dress in Chicago, man. Good memories, man, in Chicago. Man, love all the believers at headquarters, man. One thing I can say for sure, when I look back at that tape that when the minister named me, and after the minister gave me that name, I was able to look in the crowd and I seen the faces and the joy in the believers. They were so happy for me and they were genuinely happy. You can look and you can feel the spirit of those who were genuinely happy for me. And I just want to send a shout out to headquarters, to Brother Michael Muhammad, who is the national investigator, but he was my first officer in Chicago. And man, he was a real brother to me, along with all of the lieutenants, man. Look, I'm gonna shout out a couple people real quick. Hey, brother Michael, Lieutenant Brother Ronald. Of course, the hardest working man in Chicago is William 10.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Brother Glenn, both brother Glens, Glenn on the Supreme staff, and Glenn, who I think was the third officer at the time, was the second officer at the time. But all those brothers, man, helped me in my development as a soldier. They really helped me as a soldier in Chicago. And then, of course, my old roommate, Brother Edward 6, that was my man when I was in a little struggle and didn't have nowhere to stay. He took me in and I was his roommate. And man, I'm always thankful for him and just all the believers in Chicago, the sisters. Sisters always showed me love. Chicago has truly been family to me. And I just thank the believers in Chicago because, Memphis raised me, but Chicago made me.
Praise be to Allah. Well, keep up the great work, sir. May Allah continue to bless you and continue to inspire us. Everybody who's watching, please like, share, and subscribe. We're going to put it on YouTube right now, and I'll send you the link, bro, Kareem.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, beloved.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Alaikum salam.